I remember the night because of how normal it started. Nothing felt off, nothing hinted at what was coming. After 11 years as a police officer, you develop a sense for bad situations, but that night didn't trigger anything. It was quiet. Too quiet, maybe, but not enough to make me hesitate. It was just past 2:10 a.m. when dispatch broke the silence. A disturbance call, possible trespassing at an abandoned property near Sector 9 Road. The caller said they saw lights inside. That immediately stood out to me because I knew the place. Everyone in the department did. It had been burned out years ago, left empty ever since. No power, no legal access, no reason for lights. Still, a call is a call. The drive there felt longer than usual, even though it wasn't. The streets were empty. No traffic, no late-night pedestrians, not even stray dogs. The city felt muted, like someone had turned the volume down on everything. I didn't like it, but I couldn't explain why. When I pulled up to the property, it looked exactly like I remembered. Cracked walls, blackened windows, the front gate barely hanging on its hinges. But there was something new. A faint, flickering glow coming from inside. It wasn't steady like a bulb. It looked like movement, like someone walking deeper inside with a light. I stepped out of the car and immediately felt something shift. Not fear. Not yet. Just a strange pressure in the air, like the place itself was aware of me. I radioed dispatch to confirm I was on scene, but all I got back was static. I tried again. Nothing. That should have been enough for me to wait for backup. But I didn't. I convinced myself it was just interference. Old buildings can mess with signals, and honestly, I thought it was just some trespasser with a flashlight. I drew my weapon and approached the entrance. The door creaked loudly when I pushed it open, the sound echoing deeper than it should have. Inside, the smell hit me immediately. Burned wood, old smoke soaked into the walls, mixed with something damp and rotten. The air felt thick, hard to breathe. The light flickered again, further down the hallway. "Police," I shouted. "If anyone's inside, come out now." No response. I stepped inside, my boots echoing unnaturally loud with every step. The hallway stretched ahead, darker than it should have been, like the light couldn't fully reach it. And that glow, it kept moving further away, just out of reach. That's when it started to feel wrong. Not like I was chasing someone, like I was being led. I kept going, checking rooms along the way. All empty. Burned walls, broken furniture, nothing unusual. But the deeper I went, the quieter it became. Not normal silence, heavy silence. The kind that presses against your ears until it almost hurts. Then I heard it. A sound behind me. Soft. Like a footstep. I spun around, weapon raised, heart kicking harder in my chest. There was nothing there, just the hallway stretching back into darkness. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. I told myself it was the building settling. Old places make noise. You learn to ignore it. But then it happened again, closer this time. I turned sharply, adrenaline spiking. "Show yourself," I shouted. Still nothing. And then I felt it. A whisper right next to my ear. "Officer." I froze. I could feel breath against my skin, but there was no one there. I stumbled back, my grip tightening on my weapon as my pulse started racing. At the far end of the hallway, the flickering light suddenly grew brighter, and that's when I saw it. A figure standing there, completely still, watching me. I couldn't make out its face clearly, but something about it was wrong. The proportions didn't feel human. Too tall, too still, too empty. "Put your hands up," I shouted, forcing authority into my voice. It didn't move. Then slowly it raised one arm. Not in surrender, it pointed at me. And then it moved. Not like a normal person, not walking. Sliding. It covered distance without making a sound, without changing posture. Stop or I will fire. I yelled. It didn't stop. I fired. The gunshot exploded through the hallway, deafening in the confined space. The figure didn't react. I fired again. And again. No blood. No impact. No sound of bullets hitting anything behind it. It just kept coming, until it stopped a few feet in front of me. Close enough that I should have seen its face clearly, but I couldn't, because there wasn't one. Where its face should have been, there was only darkness, not shadow, something deeper. And inside that darkness, something moved. Twisted, like it couldn't hold a single shape. I felt my breath catch in my throat. "What are you?" I whispered, and then it spoke. Not from a mouth, from everywhere. "All of you, come here." The voice didn't just reach my ears, it felt like it was inside my head, pressing against my thoughts. And suddenly, everything changed. The hallway disappeared. I was still in the building, but it wasn't burned anymore. The walls were intact, lights flickered overhead, voices echoed through the halls. Officers, dozens of them, moving, talking, completely unaware of me. "Hey," I shouted. "What's going on?" No one responded. I tried to grab one of them, but my hand went straight through his arm. Then I saw the fire. It started small, barely noticeable. Then it spread. Too fast. Within seconds, flames were crawling up the walls, filling the ceiling, choking the air with smoke. Officers started shouting, running, trying to escape. But there was nowhere to go. The exits were gone. Doors replaced by solid walls. Windows sealed shut. I watched them panic. Saw them pound on walls until their hands broke. Saw one collapse right in front of me, choking, gasping for air that wasn't there. And through all of it, that thing was there, moving between them, watching. Not helping, not stopping it, just feeding on it. That's when I realized what I was seeing. This wasn't happening now. This had already happened. The fire that destroyed the building, it wasn't an accident. And whatever that thing was, it had been there the whole time. Something grabbed my arm. Hard. I snapped back into the present. The burned hallway. The darkness. The thing in front of me, holding me. Its grip was ice cold, unnaturally strong. "You stayed," it said. I struggled. Panic taking over. "What do you want?" I shouted. It tilted its head slightly, then pointed behind me. I turned and felt my stomach drop. The hallway was filled. Dozens of figures standing silently. Human shapes, but empty. Wrong, watching me. The same people I had just seen die. "You stay with them," it said. That's when panic fully took over. I didn't think, I reacted. I slammed my radio against its arm with everything I had. Something cracked, not the radio. The thing. It let out a sound I can't describe. Something deep. Wrong. Its grip loosened. I pulled free and ran. I didn't stop. Didn't look back. I ran straight out of the building and into the night air, collapsing beside my car, gasping for breath. My radio suddenly came to life. Unit 14, respond. Status check. My hands were shaking as I grabbed it. "I'm out. Send backup. Now." Backup arrived within minutes. We searched the building top to bottom. Nothing. No lights, no figures, no sign anyone had been inside. But they did find something. My bullet casings, exactly where I remembered firing. But no bullet holes. No damage. Like my shots had never hit anything. I filed the report, called it a trespassing situation. Closed the case. I didn't tell anyone what really happened. Because how do you explain something like that? But I haven't been able to forget. Because ever since that night, I haven't been alone. At first, it was small things, sounds in my apartment. That same heavy silence. Then the whispers started. Officer. Always close. Always behind me. Last night I woke up at exactly 3:03 a.m., and standing at the foot of my bed was a figure. Still. Silent. Wrong. And behind it, more shapes, filling the room, watching me. The same ones from the building, and in the center, that thing. It didn't come closer. It didn't need to. Because now I understand. I didn't leave that place, not completely. And sooner or later, it's going to take me back. I've responded to hundreds of calls in my career, but the one that stayed with me wasn't the most violent or dramatic. It was the one that didn't make sense at first, but eventually did in a way I didn't like. It happened during a late evening shift. Just after 10:30 p.m., dispatch sent me to a small electronics shop in a quiet commercial strip. The alarm had been triggered twice, but the owner, who lived nearby, said he didn't see anyone on the exterior cameras. Still, he insisted something was wrong. When I arrived, the street was mostly empty. A few businesses nearby were still open, but the electronics store was dark, its shutter halfway down. Nothing looked forced. No broken locks, no smashed glass. The owner was waiting outside, visibly nervous. "You're sure you didn't go in?" I asked. He nodded. "No. I checked the cameras from home. Motion sensor went off, but I didn't see anyone. It's happened once before this week, too. That caught my attention. I told him to stay outside and wait for backup, but I still decided to take a look inside. Sometimes these alarms are triggered by faulty wiring or small animals, and I wanted to rule that out quickly. I unlocked the shutter and stepped in. The store was narrow, packed with shelves of electronics. My flashlight swept across everything: boxes, counters, displays. At first glance, everything looked fine. "Police," I called out. "If anyone's here, come out now." No response. I moved slowly through the aisles, checking corners and blind spots. Near the back, I noticed a few boxes slightly out of place. Not scattered, just enough to suggest someone had brushed against them. Then I heard a sound. A faint scrape, like something being moved carefully. I followed it to the back room. The door was slightly open. "Police," I said again, pushing it open. The room was small, just storage. A desk, some boxes, no windows, no one inside. But something stood out. The desk drawer was open. Inside, there were tools. Not store inventory, personal tools. A screwdriver, pliers, a small flashlight. That's when it clicked. This wasn't random. Someone had been here before. I stepped back into the main store and noticed something I'd missed earlier. The Sakiv monitor behind the counter was on, but not displaying live footage. Instead, it was looping a recording. A clean one. Empty store, no movement. Perfectly still. Too still. I called the owner inside and pointed at the screen. "Is this live?" He frowned. "It should be." I rewound the footage slightly and let it play again. Same loop. Same empty scene. "That's not right," he said, now clearly worried. I nodded. "Someone's been accessing your system." Now it was starting to make sense. The alarm triggers. No visible suspect. No forced entry. Camera feed showing nothing. Because whoever was coming in knew exactly how to hide it. We stepped outside and waited for backup. I didn't want to risk moving around too much inside until we cleared the possibility that the suspect was still nearby. When the additional units arrived, we searched the entire store thoroughly. Still no one inside. But this time, we found more. Behind a stack of boxes in the storage room, there was a loose panel in the wall. It wasn't obvious. You had to look closely, but once we removed it, it revealed a narrow maintenance space between buildings. Just wide enough for a person to move through. Dust inside had been disturbed recently. There were footprints. We followed the passage as far as we could from that side, but it connected to the neighboring empty unit next door, which had a broken back door that led into an alley. That was the entry point. Clean. Quiet. Hidden. The suspect had likely been coming in through the empty unit, using the wall space to enter the shop, triggering the motion sensor, then disabling or looping the cameras before moving around. Smart. Very smart. We checked nearby cameras from other businesses and eventually found something useful. Footage from across the street showing a man entering the alley about 20 minutes before the alarm triggered. Hood up. Gloves on. Moving quickly, but calmly. Not a random thief. Someone experienced. We circulated the image, and within a couple of days, we got a hit. The suspect matched someone already known for similar break-ins. Non-violent, methodical, and patient. He would study locations for days before making a move, learning security systems and exploiting weaknesses. We picked him up a week later. During questioning, he admitted everything. He had been using that hidden access point for several nights, testing the system, triggering alarms on purpose to see how quickly police responded. He looped the camera feed using a small device he brought with him, making it look like the store was empty even while he was inside. The night I arrived, he said he had been in the back room when he heard me enter. Instead of running, he stayed quiet, watched me move through the store, and slipped out through the wall space when I stepped outside to talk to the owner. The case was closed cleanly after that. No injuries, no major losses, just a skilled intruder who got caught because he got a little too confident. But what stuck with me wasn't the suspect. It was how close it felt in the moment. That quiet store. Those small sounds. That sense that someone was right there, just beyond view. It wasn't anything supernatural. Just a reminder that sometimes the scariest situations aren't the ones you can't explain. They're the ones you can. I've been in law enforcement long enough to know most intruder calls are routine, false alarms, sensor errors, or people misreading shadows. That's what I expected when dispatch sent me to a storage warehouse just after midnight. The site manager said motion sensors kept triggering in one section, but cameras showed nothing. No break-in. No movement. Still, the alarms wouldn't stop. When I arrived, the building looked secure. Floodlights on, gates locked, no signs of forced entry. The manager was outside, pacing. "It's the third time tonight," he said. I checked the perimeter. Everything was intact. Then I reached Sector C. One pallet was slightly shifted. Not knocked over, just moved a few inches. Enough to notice if you were paying attention. I called it in, but the radio cracked with static. That's when I saw the first camera blind spot. A security dome on the ceiling, angled slightly away from a narrow service corridor that wasn't on the official floor plan. I followed it. The corridor ended in a hidden maintenance room not in the system. Inside, a laptop and a signal device were wired directly into the security panel. Someone had been inside the system itself. Then footsteps, slow, controlled, fading down the corridor. I turned, weapon ready. Nothing. I followed. But the warehouse no longer matched my memory. Cleared sections had changed. Pallets shifted. Doors now closed. Small detail, enough to make me question everything. That's when I realized I wasn't alone in the building. I called for backup again. No response. The footsteps stopped. Then a voice came through the warehouse speakers. Calm. Male. You're early tonight. Every camera in the building flickered at once. For a split second, I saw myself on a monitor, standing alone in the corridor I had just entered. But behind me, on the feed, there was movement. Someone standing, just out of frame. I turned instantly. Nothing. When backup finally arrived 15 minutes later, we searched the entire warehouse together. No intruder. No device. No signs of forced entry. But the maintenance corridor was gone. Walled off. Newly sealed with drywall that didn't match the rest of the structure. The manager insisted it had never been there. The system logs, however, told a different story. Manual overrides, remote access attempts, and camera feeds looped for short intervals over the past week. We never found who did it. Only that, whoever it was, they weren't breaking in to steal anything valuable. They were studying response time, learning movement patterns, mapping blind spots. And when I checked my body cam later, there was a 12-second gap I still can't explain. Nothing happened in that time. At least, nothing I can remember.